Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to RSTV, right here on Black Power Media. I'm your host, Kalonji Changa, and we're coming to you live with a broadcast that strikes at the very core of our right to know, to speak, and to document. Our focus today is the targeted arrest of journalists Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. This is a chilling escalation of state power where the messengers are being shackled for documenting the struggle. To help us unpack the layers of this repression and the historical continuum of silencing Black voices, we're honored to be joined by a man who has lived at the epicenter of this struggle for over 4 decades. Legendary journalist, author, and political prisoner for over 42 years, Mumia Abu Jamal. Peace, good people. We are live and direct. This is Kalonji Changa, Black Power Media. We're rolling hard with our main man, Mumia Abu Jamal. Mumia, how you doing today, brother?
I'm well. All things considered. And you, I hope.
No doubt, no doubt. Glad to hear your voice here today on this cold day. I know it's cold out your way. I'm in Atlanta and it's freezing, so I can imagine Pennsylvania must be a whole nother monkey.
Boy, listen, you ain't said nothing but a word. You hear me?
Right on, right on. Listen, I know you're familiar with what went on with Georgia Fort and Don Lemon around the arrest for documenting a protest at a church where an ICE official was a pastor. In your experience, how does the state use sacred or private institutions as shields to prevent journalists from exposing the foot soldiers of empire?
Well, they use several methods. And I think what is most...
This is a call from Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Mahanoy. This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
The method of intimidation, right? And what that means is to instill fear, right, into the journalist class. Therefore, they are less likely to resist and oppose whatever the state is doing. You know, this is about a raw exercise of power. And it's almost as if they're using the First Amendment, allegedly, to destroy another part of the First Amendment. You know, the First Amendment is not just about, religious rights. It's also about press rights, right? So the very idea of using the First Amendment against people who are allegedly protected by the First Amendment, I speak here of journalists, is a bit crazy, is it not?
Indeed. Without a doubt, without a doubt. You know, this is the 60th year anniversary of the Black Panther Party. We know that the Black Panther newspaper was one of the organs and tools of shall I say, production, movement, propaganda. I want to know from you, we know you've written extensively about how the state dismantled movements like the Panther Party by targeting their information officers. Do you feel that the arrest of independent media founders like Georgia Fort and Don Lemon is a sign that the state is returning to a policy of total information warfare?
Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Mahanoy. This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
Well, you target journalists for a specific reason, don't you?
No doubt.
You target journalists to really target the journalism that they are producing. And if you think back to the Black Panther Party, that was a target, right? When you think about its origin, the Black Panther newspaper. This paper, produced by really a group of teenagers for the most part, with the exception, of course, was the Minister of Culture, Emory Douglas. But most of the people writing and working and editing and pulling that together were, essentially teenagers. Many were like me, high school dropouts and stuff like that. But the paper produced over 150,000 copies a week. And it was sent to chapters and branches over 44 chapters and branches across the United States, and it was circulated around the world. The FBI was known to sabotage shipments of the Black Panther newspaper by pulling a foul-smelling liquid on it, right? A caustic agent to discourage people from even touching the paper. And when they raided our offices, what did they do? They took our mimeograph machines, our correspondence, and stuff like that. And they tried to destroy our ability to report in terms of writing and sending reports to the national office in Oakland, California. So what you see with Georgia Ford, Don Lemon, is an attempt to quell their reporting about an ICE agent being in that church in Minneapolis. And also, again, when they do it the way they did that, raiding their homes, right? Or attacking and arresting them and charging them with nonsense charges. It's about intimidation, you know. Journalists are a funny bunch of people. But believe me, they know how to play on the side of the state, and they know what intimidation is and means. And when you think about like how the press has already kind of bended to the will of the state right now without coming forcefully against it, then you know in some degree that intimidation works, you know, right?
No doubt, no doubt.
The only thing that resists that is a kind of mass resistance. It means you can't go backwards, you must go forward. You feel me?
No question. No doubt, no doubt. You know, a lot of folks aren't familiar with your work before the incarceration, and we know that you had a number of high-profile interviews, including Bob Marley, Alex Haley. Of course, you were, you know, notorious in their eyes for the well-known extensive coverage of MOVE and members of MOVE during that particular trial. I wanted to ask you, you know, we know that you were targeted by COINTELPRO and the Philadelphia police long before your 1981 arrest because of your work with the Panther Party and with, like I said, the coverage of MOVE. Looking at Georgia Fort's arrest yesterday, do you see this as a continuation of that same state machinery designed to neutralize Black storytellers?
Well, the question becomes, and I'm going to twist it so I can like just speak as powerfully as I can to what works and what doesn't. You know, a lot of people think that COINTELPRO was dissolved after it became the subject of congressional hearings, right? And, you know, people from the FBI and agents and leaders came to Congress and talked about it. And it became this, you know, this vast report, right? Well, it didn't stop, right? Even though the FBI said they would cease and desist, if you really believe that they ceased and desisted, you're just being stupid, right? It doesn't work that way. What they did is they put another name on the same thing and kept on rolling. Because if you think about it from their perspective, it worked spectacularly, right? In terms of dissolving and neutralizing and destroying some of the most resistant Black formations in the country, like the Black Panther Party. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they didn't fix it. They just kept on rolling with it.
No doubt.
The only thing that has changed today, of course, is the technology, right? We live in an electronic world where everybody is, well, not everybody, but almost everybody is online. So the government just sits back and watch people, listens to their conversations, right? And then they take that and they entrap people. Right? This will be a very interesting trial, right? If the The law believes in the Constitution that it promotes. And 2 judges have said already that there were no reasons to charge both of these journalists with any crimes. Why were they charged with crimes?
Absolutely.
That don't change.
Right.
The state does what the state does. Now it should be very interesting when or if Georgia and Don go to trial.
No question, no question. I want to ask you real quick. I know we got a couple minutes left with you. You earned the title, The Voice of the Voiceless. And we believe you earned that title by reporting on police brutality in Philly, as I mentioned, when others wouldn't. Georgia Fort has been a relentless voice for Renee Nicole Good and those targeted by ICE in Minneapolis. Does the state's reaction to her work suggest that quote unquote advocacy journalism is currently the most feared weapon in our community?
I think that's a fact because, people react to what they know, but they also react to what they feel. And if you think about, remember I said that this whole thing is about intimidating journalists. Well, what's behind that? It's the intimidation of a complete community, really. By that I mean the immigrant community, of course, but also their neighbors and friends who look at the immigrant community as brothers and sisters in this human struggle, right? So they want to intimidate not just the immigrant community, but those that support the immigrant community. And it's journalists like Georgia and Don who, by going face to face and seeing the people who were part of the ICE formation, that is being challenged, right? So intimidation works not just in 2 ways, but in many ways. And no one can intimidate better than the government.
You have 1 minute left.
So resist, 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 struggle, struggle, struggle. Without struggle, there is no progress.
No doubt. We love you, Mumia, and hopefully we'll get you back on soon because we know that your voice is ever more needed in these days and times.
Thank you, brother. And is yours.
Right on. We win it.
Like freedom.
No doubt. No doubt. Free Mumia, free them all. Gratitude to everyone for tuning in to another powerful episode. You've been locked into Black Power Media. That was our main man who has been on ICE for over 42 years, Mumia Abu Jamal. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. Stay connected by joining our email list at blackpowermedia.org. Remember, Black Power Media is a viewer-funded platform. We don't answer to corporate interests or state-sponsored advertisers. We answer to you. If you value this analysis and the voices we bring to this platform, please show your support. Head over to blackpowermedia.org/donate or join our community of warriors at patreon.com/blackpowermedia reloaded. Your contributions are the fuel that keeps this independent Black media engine running. Till next time, free Mumia,